What number are we on? This happens every time, Brad. We never remember half this crap.
This is number 30.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that because that's because the last one was 28B.
Yeah, number 30. They said it. They said it couldn't be done.
Nah. All right. Well, welcome to the We Rock podcast. We're going to skip over number 29 and go with 30 so that we can keep our numbers legible, because there's no way on earth we'll ever keep track of this. So
we barely remember every time we get ready to start.
I don't remember the login. I've got to look up a password or something. That's why like at some point in time, my computer's going to get hacked with all my passwords, and it's just going to be what it is. I'll lose everything. It's fine. It's okay.
You have to padlock the doors after that. There's no sense in staying up anymore.
Nah, forget it. Just let it all burn. So we got a guest today, though.
We do.
Yeah. Brad Myers from South Boston. Not South Boston, not like Massachusetts, because you actually know how to say the words like car keys and khakis and stuff like that.
But we still get those phone calls, trust me.
No. Try naming your business Austin Stone and Monument and see how many calls you get from the Austin area.
Of course.
You couldn't have come up with it. Is it because nobody can pronounce your last name?
Oh, 100%. If I'd have had my last name in my business name, I'd never get a phone call or anything.
No, because they would think you were some kind of demon or something like that, terrorist.
Well, heck, even the people that have known me for years, they still mispronounce my name. Now it's on purpose. Like,
well, I enjoy it. Siri says it great and kissy. So
I'll go with it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Of course, Brad, I just saw that y'all had installed a monument with his last name on it not that long ago.
We did. So we have some of those in Southern Virginia as well.
Okay.
Now, if they are Kazis too, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, did you migrate from there?
Negative. All my migration has been inside the boundaries of Texas.
I will admit that when I have to pronounce it, I have to think it's like, oh, it's similar to kazoo.
Like whatever you got to do to get there, I'm good.
Look, I'd say it gits better, but I'd get my name spelled wrong all the time, and they'll say, I'll get sales reps call me and say Tommy. And usually if I get a phone call and they ask, I'll say, hey, this is Tony. And they go, hey, Tommy, how are you? I'm not buying any of that junk. If you can't listen to me well enough to hear my name in a phone call like that, I'm not doing business with you, because I can't believe you're going to get anything right after that.
I lost all faith in the future of our world, nation, whatever, one time whenever I placed an order into Firehouse Subs. Did it on the phone. And they said, what name do we put it under? And I said, I'll put it under Austin. And I said, okay. So I get there and I go to pick up my order. And then I said, I'm here to pick up an order for Austin. I said, well, we don't show that one. And I said, well, I called in like 15 minutes ago. And I said, let me see the bags right there. I said, oh, that one's mine. And they said, well, that's not Austin. They went, oh. They spelled it Osten.
You can't have spell check in a marker, can you?
No, you can't.
Oh, man. Well, today I figure we're going to talk a little bit about some, this is going to be fun. We'll just pull it right off the back and pull that Band-Aid off. Membership benefits. And I don't remember what started that conversation. There was something that may have provoked a conversation.
Again, somewhere on Facebook, somebody may have made a statement.
Yes. So I guess we can say, hey, thank you, John, for bringing this to our attention. We'll just go ahead and call it out right off the bat, and we'll see. John, when you text us about it, let us know how long between when you heard your name and you texted us, just because I'm curious to see how fast that hits.
I'm going to say Monday around lunch.
Oh man. But no, we wanted to talk because that thread got pretty big, and there's people all over. I'm not worried about the excitement or name calling by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a common conversation where people have asked over the years about not just MBNA membership benefits, but benefits across the board on all different associations. It comes up often enough. I swear it's. I don't know. What do y'all feel like? Probably within the money builders groups, 2 or 3 times a year.
Easily. Anything that really gains traction.
Yeah. And it's just, what is there? And especially when I think everybody had to go up on dues not that long ago and say, well, what's the value? Well, look, the value is there. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about where the value is. And I get it. Sometimes for some people, depending upon the scale of your business, it might be expensive. But I think if we can show the value in there, then you get to see where that money breaks down and how you get it back. My problem with it, again, the same story we had with the other posts and stuff like that was Facebook's great. The issue with Facebook is that you only get information in a sentence or paragraph. So, and truthfully, if you've typed out a paragraph, people only read maybe half of it. So you're not really getting the full story, and you're not getting the inflection and all that kind of stuff. But
and I think further beyond just us explaining why we believe it is beneficial to be members of, whether it be a national organization or a regional organization. If you have never been to one, just give it a shot.
Yep.
Because until you've actually been there and you get to speak to the people, get to meet the vendors face to face, just your perceived notion of what you think it's about, you're wrong.
Kind of like meth, right?
I'll just take that one at your word there. I'm not gonna do an experiment on that one.
No, I think you've got to try it, and I think there needs to be ways to make it a little bit more accessible across the board for some. But
are you still talking about meth?
That's pretty daggum accessible. It's just like fentanyl. It comes across the border or made in a trailer in beat eyes. So, whatever. No, there's discussions about how to make it more accessible, or at least an intro accessibility, and we'll go over that at some point in time, I'm sure. But when you talk about what is there as a member and where the value is, I've always kind of said, and it what was expressed in the post, it's really what you put into it, right? Brad, I heard you kind of even make that comment too when we talked on the phone the other day. It's how much your return on your investment is how much you're investing in it anyway. You can't just write the check and never do anything about it and have a plaque on the wall. That's not going to do anything for you.
Well, so I don't know you guys' relationship with your local regional. Mine is that my parents, backstory, I'm the current MBNA Vice President of Marketing. That's you guys invited me on for this one. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. My history with associations is that, like so many other people, multi-generational company, my parents got involved with our local regional association back in the early 2000s. That was honestly the first time we ever had any kind of interconnectivity with the other monument companies around us. You would cross paths in the cemetery from time to time, but other than that, there was we were very insular in our business within the larger industry. And I understand that, as you're saying, Facebook has the Facebook groups is created another world for this, but it's as you're saying, it's still a certain point of closed offness if you aren't interacting face to face with the other monument companies not only around you, but in different parts, of your state, of multiple states. I mean,
it
it's
opens up those doors to questions and answers, right? I mean, it's things like, stuff like if you start going through even just the Facebook group, there's a lot of questions that get asked in there. But, just like on anything, there's 10,000 experts, right? And there's also 10,000 different responses. But I can, if I've got something that I'm dealing with, let's say I'm talking about a situation where I'm dealing with a particular cemetery that's giving me an issue or whatever, what I end up doing is I can call somebody who's dealt with the same thing that I know from meeting them at these conventions or whatever, and say, hey, how did you deal with this? What did you do? I can have a phone conversation, but I can't just randomly do that to somebody I've never met. I mean, I can, but it doesn't mean they're going to answer the phone, or care. So having those relationships already pre-established, it makes the world a little bit easier whenever I want to know, hey, how do I deal with, a good example is I just bought a crane a couple weeks ago. I hadn't got it installed. I had to write the check first. But in buying the crane, I asked around a few other guys who have them. And I know they have them because I've talked to them about them at convention.
Did you tell them that you needed the crane by Christmas?
Yes. As a matter of fact. And I asked them why they couldn't do that. I know we just wrote the check and whatnot, but I should have that in for Christmas so that my loved ones can see it in the cemetery.
Yeah, they're coming from out of town to see your crane, correct?
But I mean, like having the ability to, like, so what I bought was a high ab, and I called and talked to Jason, who's had, I don't know, 15 of them. I don't know how many he's bought over the years. I know Sauce down at Hope Haven in South Louisiana, he's had a couple of them, and so I talked to him. What do you like? What do you not like? What do I do? How do you, of course, the conversation ends up, they point out things that I wouldn't have thought to ask or think about. Stuff like, where are you going to mount it? Are you going to mount it behind the cab? Are you going to mount it at the tail? That's not stuff that, I mean, some of that stuff gets discussed on the Facebook groups, but in short bursts, and not like, hey, why? Or why? We're not going into full long detail about it. Heck, I was on the phone with Jason for probably 45 minutes talking about it, trying to understand what's best or what benefits where and all that. So, but I get direct information from somebody who uses it versus getting it from like a sales rep. Not that the sales rep's going to lie. They might, but they're not necessarily going to lie. And they're, but I'm getting straightforward information. Hey, these are the problems I've had with it. Perfect. Don't put myself in that situation, and I can do that. And that, while the crane's one aspect, what about, I don't know, how do you, the other ones right now, Brad, when you jumped on, I was reading out some of the changes of our family checklist that we have families sign whenever they sign a contract that we're making, because we're running into other issues. And so, I get some of that stuff from people, like some of those details. I won't share their names because they may not want to get shared or whatever, but some of that stuff comes from people all over the country, because every one of them has different experiences. You're going to have different experiences in rural South Virginia than somebody in, I don't know, New York City, Chicago, San Francisco. Any of those big cities are going to deal with. And those are things that we need to do. We look at. I want to be able to analyze all that so I know what's going to fit best for me.
I kind of view it as selling, and this makes no comment on anybody's quality of work or, professionalism or anything, but I kind of view it as a difference between selling headstones versus being part of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's as I said, you're quite isolated unless you're interacting.
Yeah.
Certain ways.
Well, it's funny you say it that way. You say, not knocking anybody's fine, and I agree. But I've always laughed at the web pages, when you go on a web page, so inevitably it says the highest quality in blah, 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 right? And you're like, well, who determines that? Because I can see your stuff and it's not the highest quality or whatever. And I feel like if you're not injecting yourself around other people that do the same thing, and all you're seeing is just what you're producing and what's in the cemetery that you're in all the time, you're not really seeing what's out there to be seen, right? You're not seeing what other people are doing going, oh, no, I'm missing the boat.
Okay,
I should be changing this up.
To play devil's advocate here, do you think, either one of you, do you think that you need to be a member of MBNA to be successful?
No.
And I
Okay.
wouldn't
I
say,
think,
but
right. I agree with that.
I think it's a good assist.
There you go.
It's,
Will it help you be successful?
I guess it also depends on your definition of successful. If it's your, profit motive, and you're happy just, being in your little corner of the world, and that's, to you, that's success, being able to, have a comfortable life, and, but if success is, term leaving a lasting impact on the industry that you've chosen to be a part of, being part of your associations, whether regional, national, whatever. I mean, that's kind of the avenue for you to kind of leave a mark on the industry that you've chosen.
I look at it as like going to church. Of course, I'm a Christian, and do you need to go to church to believe in what I believe? No, you do not. Now, it's recommended that you do, but I see that attending church on a regular basis really deepens that relationship that you have with God, and helps you lead a better life just by staying active in your church. And the same thing can be said for these organizations that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the same way with church, in church, you've got people that are going to push you to become better and push you to become stronger, in your faith and whatnot. Doing it on your own, you don't have that push or that accountability. The same thing when you deal with these associations and whatnot. It's you're going to have people. Of course, I always laugh because there's people that pick on you that will harass you to it, but there's other people that are very kind and nice, and like that. See, you're hard pressed to find somebody nicer than Jed Hendrickson, right? I mean, just hands down, one of the nicest individuals I've ever met. He's
impossible.
And I've said it before. He's our Mr. Rogers. He's just the greatest guy there is. I mean, when it comes down to it, and he will tell you straight on how to do stuff, but he does it very kind, right? Whereas there's, I'm good friends with Chris Smith in Nebraska, and Chris will harass you to no end, but he's not doing it to necessarily, he's doing it to be mean, but not necessarily because he's trying to just be mean. He's being constructive, but he's doing it out to pick and have fun. But he'll tell you the truth, and you'll learn it, and he's not doing it out of malice is the difference. So. But you're going to find help every direction and the help that you need. And I think I wouldn't have those connections with those people had it not. I wouldn't know Chris if it hadn't been for MBNA. I wouldn't know Jed had it not been for AICA or Hard Rocks. Those guys have been instrumental in a lot of the different things that we do. So
correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are you both first generational, more or less?
Yes.
All right. So what is your story about getting involved with? I'm assuming you started with Southern.
So mine's a little different because I started off on the wholesale side. Working at when I worked for Swan Stone Arts, I had attended conventions as a rep, and so I'd gone to what was then the MBSW, Mining Builders Southwest, and then now Southern. And then, of course, it was the other one was the Louisiana Mississippi Convention, which is now part of Southern as they've been joined together. And I would go to those conventions and meet those people, and that's how I made those connections early on. So I kind of already had when I started everything, already had those connections and already understood the importance of the associations. I haven't been without, but I understand. I can understand where people who are without it see things.
Mhm.
But I understand the value pretty quick because I wouldn't have had those contacts with a lot of those vendors up front. You're calling into them blind at that point in time, trying to figure out where do I buy stuff and say, oh yeah, we're the best. And you're like, okay, but now I know one guy, but I don't know where else to get anything else. Heck, I didn't sell porcelain pictures at all until I met Tanner, and that was 5-6 years into the business. So we just didn't sell anything when it came to pictures. We didn't have people ask. We weren't showing them. We're probably 6 or 7 pictures a week now. So it just, if I hadn't met him at a convention, I'd probably still be like, I don't understand the value of a picture.
And you guys being advocates for associate participation as first generation guys, like for people like me, multi-generational, you can kind of see how participation is what it is because it's always been that way, and it's a little bit of this is how we do things. But when first generational guys can advocate for, yes, participation has helped me, and I've gotten a lot of benefit from it. That that's the best compliment that can be given.
Oh, definitely so. Now, in mine, of course, I have Tony to thank for me basically being.
I'm sorry.
In the position that I'm in right now, but whenever I first got started, I figured out how to draw a headstone on Gerber, and then I thought, man, I have got this figured out. I am the best at this. There's nobody better than me. And I figured that if I had a company Facebook page, other monument companies would have a Facebook page too. And so I just started looking at ones in Texas and ran across Tony's, and I was like, man, this guy does some pretty good work. And so
he's lying.
Still being, yeah. Well, I thought you took your headphones off and walked away. But I reached out to him and just started a dialogue with him, and one of the first things he said, are you a member of MBNA? Are you a member of SMBA? And I had no idea what those were, and he said, this is what you need to do. You need to sign up for these. Signed up for them. He said, please attend the conventions. The first convention that I attended, I left there pretty damn humbled, because I went from figuring out, thinking that I had everything figured out, to figuring out real quick I didn't know anything. And I had a long ways to go until I could even be considered to having half of anything figured out. And it's because of actively participating and continuing to attend the conventions and fostering these relationships that I'm able to do what I'm able to design at the level I can now, produce the type of work that I can. And in all honesty, if it was not for that, I would not be anywhere close to where I am today.
It certainly makes you more ambitious in what you try to produce.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it certainly has for me. I mean, I know it's been a topic of conversation last couple of weeks about the. Hold on, I'm sorry. I got distracted by people running down my steps. The topic of conversation: where do you charge for design layouts? And there's a certain design layout that is done with prepackaged things that you just put modified Roman in there and you dust your hands off and you're done. But I mean, I've gotten where every layout now, and it may be to my detriment, who knows, where I'm spending an hour just scrolling through fonts, just trying to
I do the same thing. I'll type a name out and then I'll copy it into a different font copy, and then by the end of it, I've got like 10 or 12 names next to this one headstone, and I just keep dragging them on and off.
Yep.
Just
well, it's funny how much. I mean, it starts to change. I mean, like even as simple as this is, and I'm gonna try and be careful how I say it because I don't mean it bad. But Brad, from your time just in the recent few months of being in AICA and the things that you've seen. Of course, now I've seen the both of y'all utilizing AICA fonts on just about everything that y'all are posting and
That's the
sharing.
only reason I wanted to be in AICA was the fonts. I got them. Mission accomplished.
Brad, y'all's recent post I was going through, and I there's a few of those. I was like, man, these are awesome. Let's see if I can click on find the one. Y'all did one with tulips on the back of it, etched, and how they sit in the corner. And I was like, daggum, if that's not nice, and the way it sits in there, and it basically frames the back end of that stone. Looks great.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and it's stuff that and it doesn't mean you couldn't have done this before. And it doesn't mean you didn't already have this sold before. But what it does mean is that somewhere you had seen something similar, or, you know, that maybe have inspired the thought to get to that. And it opens those doors up. Mm-hmm. The more you have, the more you see, the more you have access to, right? So if your access is only your general region that you serve and the cemeteries that you're in all the time, then you're limited. But, you know, from whether it's, you know, of course, I go back to the discussion on, you know, designs off of bottles and car dealership signs and all those other things, to seeing other things at the monument builders conventions that are designs or what other people are producing. That's why the design contests are so valuable. It's not because somebody needs to have an award on the wall. It's because you can't know what you can do until you've seen it done or seen something similar done.
Heck, even talking about AICA, just our most recent convention we had, since then, I've sold 3 designs that have glass incorporated in them now.
Yeah.
And it's something that I would not ever be doing if I didn't get to see it firsthand.
I've got a couple of packs of broken glass from Hobby Lobby sitting on my desk now. That would be a winter project for a stock job.
Well, and then you get into some of those conversations with when you go from glass to other things. I like the broken glass idea. One of the things that we're doing right now, I've got one where we're doing, of course, this is like super Texas, right? I say that y'all may have something in Virginia similar, but turquoise. I'm going to put turquoise into a stone in the shape of a cross, and it's all tiny crushed turquoise bits But the next step was I ran it through a polisher to polish it up so that it will have a shine. And what we're going to end up doing is putting it in. We're going to sandblast that area back and then put it into with a clear resin epoxy that's UV protectant, and just hopefully it stays and doesn't yellow. But we've already told the family we can't guarantee it's not going to yellow, but we'll do our best.
I can give you I'll link this posts from Monument Builders. Drew Bott did a epoxy test, and there's a 10x one that doesn't yellow.
Yeah. Drew is on a different level. How somebody can design that well and not consume caffeine, I don't know. He's a different animal. His stuff is really cool and very. I mean, it's unique because it's rustic, but it's clean. If you look, he's got a definite style. It's really cool. But again, that's another individual that I met him through AICA, and he and I become good friends, and we talk not regularly, but every once in a while. I'll call him and ask really bronze questions because he knows so many bronze sculptors that he uses. Great guy. But these connections that you get through those things are invaluable. And I wouldn't know how to do some of these things that are done without that. I mean, even when we get into some of these design discussions, what really sparked me doing so much custom stuff was going to MBNA conventions. And I'll say this, it's changed a little bit over the years. Some of it's because it's expensive for the vendors to bring stuff. But I remember in Nashville walking in, it was Memphis, not this past Memphis, but Memphis, I don't know, 15 years ago or more. They had Cold Spring had brought this spire, like an obelisk that set down on a giant pedestal, and on the pedestal was a fully sculpted rope that went around it, and there was a flag draped over the obelisk, and it was just amazing, all out of mahogany. The thing, I swear to you, was 15 foot tall. Inside.
Is that St. Louis?
No, that was I think Memphis.
Okay.
There was at that same convention. There was a floating sphere. I seem to remember there being a Gibson guitar and amplifier, like a Marshall amp, that was all done out of granite. I mean, just really cool stuff. And I don't mean like a Gibson guitar that's cut two-dimensional. I mean, they did the facets and everything, the tuning pegs, the volume knobs, everything. And it was a phenomenally well done. But I wouldn't have seen that stuff had I not gone and been a part of that. I wouldn't have heard stories from, like, of course, you sit in the hospitality room and you or the bar and all those things, and you run your mouth. And I always talk, when I explain this to non-industry folks, they go, "What do y'all do?" or whatever. And I say, "Well, we talk. We have these things." It's kind of like fish stories. When we're in the bar, the stories become like, "Well, I once caught a fish this big," right? I'll never forget sitting in there, and I can't remember the name of the monument company, but they're up in Idaho, and I was saying something about crazy installs or whatever, and I thought I had, it's that moment when you think you've got the big bad story, and then somebody's got a better one than you. Yeah, we installed in this situation, and then they come back and say, "Yeah, we installed a monument with a helicopter that we flew up a canyon." Yeah. And you go,
I was gonna say, you're not going to beat any of the stories that people in the mountains have.
No, you're not. So when they said they flew that thing up a river through a canyon via helicopter to go up to the spot and set it, I was like, "You've got to be kidding!" And they said the only way to access the spot for the guys was by boat. So you just go, "Yeah, that's different. That's not me. I didn't do that." So, but it opens up those ideas and those things that you can do, and you can't think that way unless you've seen it before.
Well, like you were talking about that tulip monument, those tulips were completely AI generated. They were never from, nothing out of a book, from scratch, and learning how to navigate AI just to that rudimentary point is stuff that we've discussed. I've had a dozen conversations with Aaron Fanley about it, as we're all muddled through. What's the language you use? What's the newest program that you're using trying to generate what you want to have done?
Yeah. And when it comes to, we can go on and on and on about where these ideas stem from. That, I think, having those contacts and those conversations with people, and the ability to get in touch with people like Aaron Fanley, I've talked to plenty. He and I are on the phone often, and about different things, and having the ability to reach out to folks like that is easily the most valuable thing that you're going to get out of your any dues that you're spending at a convention, or just membership dues. Having those contacts. But one of the statements that was made in that post was that, again, you get into it what you get out of it what you put into it, and I kind of expressed that a little bit like a tool you might buy, right? So I think that the one I thought of was an auger, but even what's it that I don't know what it's called, that Monu jack, is that what it is? That long setting bar.
Yeah.
I've got two of those things, and then I've got the cheater pipe with it, right? Mm-hmm. So do they get used all the time? No. Are they valuable when they get used? Absolutely. And the deal is if I spent the money on it and it just sat in a corner and was never on the truck, then why did I spend the money on it? But keeping it on the truck, using it, knowing how to use it, and knowing what it'll do makes that one of the most invaluable tools when you need it, because you're able to move things that you wouldn't necessarily do, and move them incrementally, because your fulcrum's so far away from the back end of your handle. So
it's even nice whenever you have something complicated, whether it is that you're trying to you're trying to re-level a pretty large stone, or you're even trying to set something that is asymmetrical. The balance is way off. You don't know what you had never been down that road.
Yeah.
It's nice to have people to call, send them a picture and say, hey, how would you pick this up?
Yep.
How do I not destroy this?
And speaking of association membership as a tool that you never use, I invite all the MBNA members listening to this. If you haven't really done it, sign into your profile on monumentbuilders.org and just look around in the members only section for stuff that's posted there. There's back issues of MB News that now have a search function. I mean, just for curiosity's sake, you can search through it and just see what kind of terms come up. There are videos on there. All the webinars from the past year are there. All the ones that are produced going forward will be listed there. I mean, it's one of those, again, if you're not taking advantage of these things, you're not making the membership work to your greatest advantage.
And if you need to, and if you've hacked my computer, you'll have my login. You can look at mine. So, but no, I mean, you're right. I logged in just to kind of look through it and see. But I mean, there's a lot in here. Of course, I've gone through and edited my profile and because I try to keep it updated as best I can, knowing that there's an avenue for local clientele to be able to find me through it as they're searching. So those things help. Having events listed within here is great. So you've got a running calendar of what all's coming up within here, between whether it's MBNA conventions or webinars. But I mean, y'all have even gone as far as to listing regional conventions, which is great. So and Hard Rocks is even listed as well. So it's not necessarily that it's, hey, MBNA is just going to promote their own thing. MBNA is going to also promote the stuff that they've got going on around the country that's not theirs. It's for other companies.
Yes, we do. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's kind of what we've talked about. We want to be a partner with regional associations. That's why, we are starting to combine regional associations with regional associations more. We've combined with Baltimore. We've combined with the Pacific in San Diego. In Cleveland, the Ontario Association, they're, partnering up, and that's Cleveland is their de facto regional. We're partnering with Southern next year. So this is all, the conscious effort to kind of have more connections within the industry as a whole.
Right. And going back to like some kind of, the Tony's coming back now. No.
We closed at 3 and there was literally a guy banging on the window trying to get my attention. Are y'all not open? No, the sign says 3.
You could invite him on.
He says, "Can I get a quote?" And I said, "Man, I'm on a call right this second." I said, "But send me an email. I'm happy to help you out." So it was funny as the lady keeps talking, saying, "Well, but da da da." The guy turns to him and says, "He's on a call."
Did you answer the door with your headphones on?
Yes, I did. Excuse me.
Oh, see that now for these instances, you just need to keep like a broom next to your desk, and if somebody is like insistent on knocking on the door, just tell them you're the cleaning crew.
Well, usually it's not that bad when the lights are out and whatnot. You can't really see in my computer. Of course, my computer kind of faces the windows, and I usually have my chair back kind of blocks me. But it's overcast outside right now, which makes it darker out there and easier to see in. So when it's sunny out, that's not a problem. But anyways, I'm sure I missed something exciting.
Oh, we were just talking about how MBNA has been partnering up with regional organizations, helping to, not only promote themselves, but promote the regional organizations, just further grow those connections between I guess
And
what you
we
call
want
the parent organization and the rest of us.
Yeah.
we want to be active and act. If the regionals need help planning, content for their conventions or whatever, please reach out to us. That's one of the kind of missions of the education committee now is to create content that regionals can present to their own members. Because I mean, it's one of those things where all the industry's stronger when we are all rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. Well, and the goal of any of these associations is not to tear down other people that aren't part of it or whatever. It is absolutely to build up the industry, and from the people that are involved. I can only speak for my regional association. That some of them I know. I know a lot of the folks over there at the Carolinas pretty well. I know a lot of the folks up there at Mid America and stuff like that. And I'll say that, man, their heart is helping the families. And MBNA as well. The folks right now that are, and not just right now, but the folks right now that are involved in leadership at MBNA, their heart is not in making money. Their heart is taking care of the families. Making the money comes along with that, but the primary objective is to take care of these families that are hurting.
And I did listen to the last podcast, and I'm sorry that John had a bad experience with apparently an MBNA member or two that he's crossed paths with. But it's not, the association's not a monolith. It's
Right.
made up of all sorts. I mean, it's they're not. I mean, I'm a shop guy. You both are shop guys. I tell everybody, I basically dig holes for a living. It's not. That's my job. That's what I do. So,
But I mean, that you get is I don't get along with everybody by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know why I could assume that I'm going to be besties with every MBNA member there would be. That's just not going to happen. I don't get along with my wife all the time. We get along most of the time, but we don't always agree or see eye to eye, and that's perfectly fine. I actually believe that having some of that discourse is good to help build your repertoire of information. You can't learn if it's not for discourse. If everybody's going to kiss up to you and tell you you're great, you're never going to learn anything. I want somebody to say, "Hey, these are just wrong."
Just like with anything, if you just silo yourself into just one line of thinking, there is no room for growth in that.
No.
I mean, you have to be presented with differing opinions, and whether you find commonality with it or you just go your separate ways with that other opinion, that's how you grow from it.
Mm-hmm. And if you've had a bad experience with an association, speaking from MBNA standpoint, my first event as a representative of anything with MBNA was 2020 as a trustee. And in 5 years, I invited on a podcast to, kind of talk about the benefits of the association.
And it is the best podcast. It's the highest rated podcast for monuments in the world, hands down.
That's literally how quickly the face of the association changes over.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've had a bad experience, that was a completely different set of circumstances. That I apologize for that, but that's different people, different circumstances. Give it another try. See if things have improved. And for
I can say from my own.
Go ahead.
No, I can even say from my own experience, I've had a bad experience with SMBA before. And of course, Tony, you were there for that one. And I could have just easily taken my ball and gone home, which was what I was content to do until I actually did sit down and talk with some of y'all and figured out what was going on. And after that, everything was fine. But if I would have just let that one experience sour me on the whole organization and the monument organizations as a whole, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
I mean, the way we fixed it is we told you were going to be on the board.
It was there was talk of pay and everything and benefits, so I kind of perked up whenever that talk came around, and then I found out I got hoodwinked.
There's a lesson there too. Even if you're a member, these decisions being made aren't over there. That it's some old boys club that they're moving the pieces around, and you don't have every little thing about the association has a committee that please come be a part of it. Tell us what we're doing wrong. If you see something that you want to see better in the industry, come change it. The door is wide open.
Well, there's been things that I think are super beneficial that MBNA does. I think the webinars that have been going on lately have been great. They've been phenomenal. There's certain things in there that I don't agree with that MBNA does, and I've made. I don't necessarily make giant waves on that stuff. I'll make quiet conversations with people or whatever about it, and those kind of things, because it doesn't make sense to get loud about it. It might be working for some people, and I might think it needs a different tonal direction. But again, I'm just one member. I can. I've only got a little bit of a voice when it comes to those things. It's still got to be beneficial for the majority, and so I can make those complaints and make those statements and see what I can do to affect change. But still, there's so much more that I get out of those things. I mean, you can go into like the details like insurance breaks whenever, because you can co-op insurance and things like that. I know that there's been the credit card machine discounts that you get through those things that'll cover your fees. There's those kind of things. But there's and we can go on and on and on about who you can be connected with and how you can get information on it. But again, the value comes in not just education; it's meeting the suppliers and having that access. I think the key being access, right? Access to things you didn't have the opportunity to deal with before, is the biggest aspect of all of it.
Well, if anything, beyond just the education and networking with people, the conventions I genuinely look forward to, because basically what it turns into is it's like an extended family reunion. That I'm excited to see these people that I only get an opportunity to see once, if maybe twice a year. And it's just a great opportunity, one, to get away. Who doesn't like to get away for one? It's nice to hit the pause button and go do something else other than.
Well, and it's what you and I joke a lot when we come up to SMBA. We're like, man, because it's always the right time of year for us when it comes to it. Really, truthfully, there almost needs to be a convention between Christmas and New Year, because we've got to get through all of us throwing a fit about the customers that we've pissed off about. Where's my stone and why didn't it in for Christmas? Those guys. So that way we can just get it off and start anew at the beginning of the year, and we're done. But SMBA, because we're in June, it's the same kind of boat. That's the secondary 6 months of it, is why isn't it in or whatever. And we finally get together and we can hash out those stupid things that we deal with nonstop, which is, I
hate to say it, but misery loves company. It's it's not, but it's nice to know that you're not the only one experiencing this stuff. And whenever you finally get to unload it and hear your peers telling the same stories, you're like, okay, I can survive this.
Brad Austin and I have been on the phone 4 or 5 times this week with the same complaint, and it's all been about
4 or 5.
It's all been Christmas rush. Yeah, it's all been Christmas rush.
Well, I will speak to a negative association point now. You talk about being in social situations at the bar, and how fun it is to kind of exchange stories. It's kind of ruined me from going other social situations locally, because I'll go there and I was like, no one's talking about tombstones here. Why aren't anybody talking about tombstones at the bar? So,
And you find that nobody else really wants to hear your tombstone talk, and it's but they're not interested.
so
You're like, I don't
funny.
understand. Why aren't you interested in understanding the problems with the cremation rate?
Don't you want to learn? Don't you want to hear how I pick up an obelisk? No, didn't you love that?
It gets it's so interesting when you're able to talk with other folks that have done those things. You know, how many of us had we not gone to a convention would have the luxury of knowing Perry Giles and hearing his stories? You know, it's those things are worth their weight in gold. Honestly, and I've said this before, and I at one point in time early on, I would ask Perry what his thoughts were on like a job that I'd come on. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, right? You know, and I would run away from that job so fast, and I'd ask why, and he'd tell me why. And you know, these are the headaches you're going to run into. So now I had a list. I had a list of what to watch out for, and I could figure out how to work my way around it to get the job and get it done right. And so but those things have become super valuable to me. More valuable than I always joke about or rag on the coupon book. I don't even know if that still exists or not, but it does not.
No, because it ended up so people weren't using them. There wasn't a great way to track it. I mean, it was just kind of a flawed concept unless you kind of put in a higher level of sophistication for it, and it was just exactly how do you implement that. So again, I dig holes for a living. I don't figure out how to.
I wasn't using them anyway when it came to the coupons, and mine was really just a function of I asked my vendors to do a lot of things for me, and it felt kind of like a slap in the face at times whenever I go, "Oh yeah, here's a coupon."
Yeah, and we've talked about that. If you want to talk about affinity programs, to me the route if you're searching for discounts is through subscriptions. Talked about if you've got a Creative Cloud subscription, are there pathways to contact Adobe to offer discounted subscription for that, but that comes with, and this is again a call for people to join up. The more members MBNA has, the more attractive they are to offers like that, for affinity offers from people.
Now something like that would be nice. I would. Yeah. Of course, I'm already a member, and I would definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah,
but I mean, just you think about the amount of subscriptions that, like, just I have here.
I've looked into it. There is a pathway, but you have to. It's essentially as if MBNA would be selling the subscription, and then you take their cut off the top type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we have to reach a certain level of membership in order to get in those kind of brackets to get those offers.
And what are you doing on here with us? You should be out there like peddling, getting new members. It's
I know we're a massive organization as it is.
Yeah.
Where we have a lot
that's a focus for 2025. So I wanted to make this note because I know when Tony talked about his profile on the website, some people were pulling their hair out. Where the current member directory, does not work as it should. That was a function of the changeover. We changed management companies last year. Completely new membership directory that's being built from scratch. That goes live middle of January. And after that, you'll be getting emails about, updating your profile page before we, present it to the public. And then, after that should go live to the public middle of February. And after that, it's essentially a supercharged directory. So there will be a lot more versatility in what can be done with it, who can find it. So just Appreciate everybody's patience on that. We know it doesn't work as it should. But it's
Well, I know, like, too, that so we talk a lot about MBNA, but there are those resources, some of those resources within some of your regional associations as well. Not to the same extent. I know SMBA, we have a list of members or whatever on our page, but I think each group has their own spot, right? For us in our shop, we look at national as a separate thing where you're going to get more access to more educational, more vendors at those conventions because it's a broader view. When I go to those conventions, I see full mausoleums and the big display ones, and you see sand handlers and all kinds of different equipment and a bunch of different booths and things. When we go to, and we're going to see a lot of that at MonuCon this year, which is going to be a great convention, a great show out there as well. Those guys are doing a phenomenal job. Their education that they've got lined up is great. And it'll be a big show. When you talk about the regional conventions like Southern, we're not going to have a big display. We're not going to have, full walk-in anything. We will have tabletop stuff and educational things as well. But it becomes more intimate, right? When you're dealing with MBNA, you can be overwhelmed by just sheer numbers. When you get into some of the regionals, it becomes far more intimate. Like Virginia, y'all have an association as well, if I can remember correctly. Is that right?
We're members of Carolina, so
okay.
Where we're located, we're literally 10 minutes north of that border. So Virginia itself doesn't really have the association. They're part of the Mid-Atlantic, but Mid-Atlantic doesn't have an active association other than to put on the convention every other year.
Yeah. So
hey, Tony,
yeah.
Did you know that you have been a member of MBNA since 2023?
We're working on it.
No, mine says the same thing, and I know the reason why.
Because you paid your dues?
Well, if you let your membership lapse.
Oh, okay, got
it. There may have been a small protest in there that I discussed at one point in time. I did it quietly, but I purposely came back, and that's what I said. When things start to get fixed and whatever, and I was really happy with the way things changed. But no,
you had to sit in, is what you had.
Sit in.
and for anybody that's interested in kind of becoming part of MBNA, I can say this without reservation: the association is in the healthiest spot we've been in since I've been involved. The new management company is night and day versus what we've had in the past. I mean, it's things are kind of on autopilot now. When before, if you were part of the leadership at MBNA, you were expected to do the day-to-day lifting to run a national association. And again, we beat on rocks and dig holes. We're not equipped for that. But now
we're highfalutin Neanderthals. Is really what we are. It's don't try to pretty it, But
see, and I'm a terrible MBNA member because I obviously have not visited the site in a while. And sitting here looking through it, I'm kind of kicking myself now because I see that if you're an MBNA member, you get 65% off domestic next day shipping with UPS. And I've been sending a crap load of stuff with UPS right now and paying full price. So there you go.
Again, just go through the website. It's worth, just an hour of time just looking through it. So you never know what's going to be there.
Yeah. And I think, as you look at, as you look through it, you start figuring out, look at what that cost is for you, right? Look at the cost of membership or whichever one you're looking at, right? Whether it's MBNA, your regional, going to Hard Rocks or whatever. Look at what your input cost is, and what you've got to do is go, I've got to make this valuable and see what I'm going to do to make 10 times what I'm putting into this. Who is Dave Pace? Has made the comment many times over that he wants to walk away from going to a convention with at least one idea that's going to make him $10,000. And if you can pull that off, then it's valuable. And I've done that a few times over. I went to a convention, I think it was Indianapolis I had gone to, and I was not going to go to that one. I tend to not like the cold as a rule. So, but I wasn't going to go to that one. The reason I went was because at that time I was struggling with bronze suppliers, and I said, I need to find a new bronze supplier. So that was the whole intent. I went with, every time I go to a convention now, I go with the express intent of coming back with something that's valuable, whether it's I've got to find a new vendor for XYZ, I've got to expand number of vendors, I need a solution to whatever it is I'm fooling with on this one or that one. Those are what I'm going to. I'm not just going in blind to go, all right, let's see what happens. You've got to have a valuable reason to go for your money to justify what you're spending on it. Now,
again,
everything after that's fine, yeah.
You're using it to its fullest extent.
Right.
Again, it goes back to you get what you put into it.
Yeah. So, no, I think the education that is out there that is put on, and remember, it's put on by other money folks just like you, unless we're talking about insurance, which that one drives me nuts. I can't sit through this, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's if I have an insurance question, I'm calling Bruce, my insurance guy, or I'll see him at church. I can't do those. But other than that, all of those things are put on by people just like you that have experienced certain things. I know we went through a period of a bunch of folks talking about how do you call it? Succession planning. How to plan for what's going to happen in the future. I know that there was a number of guys. I think if I remember correctly, Bobby Maddows, Nathan Lang, and a few others had gone through different scenarios because they all kind of had a changeover of ownership. Bobby's was unexpected and rapid. And Nathan had kind of just taken over and built stuff. And so it was, hey, these are the headaches we ran into. These are the things you need to be looking out for. And they were like, well, what? You need to come check this out. And I said, well, I'll check it out, but I'm not leaving yet. But I mean, there's a lot of folks right now. We're seeing a full lot of it, right? The old guard is moving on because they're tired of looking at people like Austin that are running around, but it's just that time.
They're tired. They're tired of another Christmas season.
Yes, they would like to be merry again.
Joy to the world. I'm done. But those things are super important for you to go through because again, having those the understanding of what you need to be looking into and what you need to be doing. Even simply, like as much as I joke about insurance, you kind of have to look at things and go, do you have life insurance on the owner? Those are super important things that you need to keep around because, like, I think I carry $2 million on me. That if something were to happen, I've got coverage to cover the business, and they'll help get things either shifted over to someone else or to make sure that
policy set up.
Right. To make sure at least the families are taken care of. So, those are important things that need to be looked into. And if you've never even heard the concept, then how are you going to know?
Mm-hmm. Not only heard, but it's tailored specifically to this. The information is tailored specifically to this industry. If you say, well, I can get that kind of information online, where you're just going to get generic small business.
Yeah, and this industry's unique as all get out, anyways. That we face challenges that other industries do not come close to facing, and it's all in just how we were so dependent upon the supply lines we have, and of course, there's bottlenecks at every single point of it. And and it is like he was talking earlier. Going to these conventions has kind of ruined you on going to like some of your local associations that you're involved with because nobody understands this. Unless you've been a part of it, you do not understand it.
No. I try to explain some of these things to people at church, because inevitably they ask. A lot of times they'll get curious about stuff. And they're like, well, how do you do this? You're like, well, I mean, I can get into the weeds of it, but I don't know that you really care that much, and it's not as exciting as what you'd think it would be. But uh, I can explain in detail to you guys about that stuff, and y'all get it, you know.
And I mean, because by and large, the public has no idea how we do what we do. Because, like you're saying, going to church, you'll have somebody pull you aside and they'll say, "So, you have like a mold that you pour these things into?" Yes, we do. It's
Are those two pieces? Is that one piece of granite, that top and bottom piece?
Oh yeah, well, even that, or even just you'll have a frosted panel on something, and they'll say, "How do you inset that in there so cleanly?"
Well, the assumption that you literally hand chisel every one of those letters still, right? It's
We do.
Yeah. I've seen you hand chisel.
or the ability to erase.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, let me get my granite eraser out. Give me a moment.
Yeah, that one's a nightmare in and of itself. But no, I think, man, it's good to go through these things. It's good to talk about those, where those values are, and really, we can. There's so much that's available to them, but I think the biggest key and takeaway from it all is don't knock it. Don't just immediately say this isn't valuable. I have a hard time. Look, I don't like Pepsi Cola, but that's because I tried it. It's nasty.
Oh, that's exactly what I was about to say. I was about to say, Tony, do you like steak?
Oh, I love steak. You know how I know?
How do you know? There you go.
That's it. But it's all those different things. They all you can't really, the old adage, you can't knock it till you try it. But I think it's important to give it a shot and see if there's value to it. And I get, if you're, I think the original poster on that said he's a single man shop. So I kind of had made this discussion when somebody was complaining about cost of these associations going up, and it is what it is. It's got to go up. The expenses are what they are. To a small shop that may be, I don't know, picking let's say there's a shop that's averaging $350,000 a year. I would say that's a pretty small shop. What is it now? Is it 695 or something like that for dues at MBNA? Does that sound right?
It's six. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So at $695, you're looking at how much of a percentage of what you're spending, and that's just the dues. That's not your travel and convention fees if you go to any of that stuff or whatever. But you look at how much of your income that is. You go, man, that's hard to swallow. I get that. Try out one of the smaller associations first, and get your feet wet there. Don't dive in with both feet and just kind of see where things are. But even with MBNA, you're still getting the full magazine that you can put on your table, that people will come in and they're going to see it and they're going to look at it and they're not going to read the articles, but they're going to see the pictures and stuff like that.
Well, talking about the single, he's a single member shop. I guarantee you that there's other people that are a part of MBNA or in the organizations that they've been in that same spot. They started out as a one-man operation, and they've grown from it. And it would be pretty valuable to be able to sit down and talk with somebody that's been through that same lived experience. And you're not going to get that unless you're participating.
No, you've got to be a part to really get the value. And that's not to dissuade being part of Facebook groups and finding things in other areas and whatnot. But the value is where you're going to find it, and you got to look for it a little bit. You got to put in the legwork. I
would compare it to college. There is nothing that you can go to college and learn that device in your pocket can't teach. That's not to say that going to college is completely useless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, yeah. All that information is right here, in your cell phone. But
his internet bit the dust again.
I saw it kind of crackling earlier.
Yeah.
I'll get indoctrinated just as well.
Uh-oh. Oh, he's back.
You cut out on us.
Did I really?
Yeah, your squirrel severed the connection again.
Man, we had the internet guy out here all last week trying to fix all this stuff, and sure enough, it happens again. No, what I was saying is that you're right. It's just like college. All that information's right there, but once you start becoming a part of it, just like it is here in College Station, you'll get indoctrinated just well. So
yeah, but you're talking about A&M specifically. You're talking about the absolute king of indoctrination.
We've got maroon Kool-Aid. It's great.
Oh yeah.
We can get you in the core. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal group. Look, I mean, Brad knows they've got something similar in Virginia Tech.
I didn't go to Virginia Tech. I was UVA.
Oh yeah. UVA's got is old military school too, isn't it?
VMI.
VMI. Okay.
Yep.
So, no, but I think that's pretty good and gets everybody kind of an idea of what you can get out of these things. You really, I really encourage everybody to put some eyes on it. Go try it out. I know we have not settled on this at SMBA, but we're in the works of trying to figure out is there value to having it set up so that our vendors can invite people to come to a convention if they've never been to a convention, and that be covered for them. I know for us, one of the big things is trying to improve membership value for our suppliers as well. So we talk a lot about retail members, but truthfully, none of these things exist without the suppliers anyway, right? Hands down, you sit there and you're like, oh, my membership dues are this, or man, the convention fees are this. Like, you know what? You're not covering the bulk of it. Those vendors are. And, you go, they're going to take, if you've got a good vendor that you're loyal to, they may take you out to dinner. They might not, but they want you to come check them out and talk to them and see what's new. And, they're going to tell you about all the different stuff they've got, but they're there to help. That it is we support your suppliers that are going. If you're a member, don't knock them. But, those guys have been instrumental in all this education. If you can't have the education if it's not for the vendors.
The first board meeting after Memphis, we invited BGA, EGA come in, tell us, what do you want out of MBNA as far as our conventions? That's a lot of the emphasis that we put on combining with regionals, because some of last decade, some of these reps were going to an event once, twice every month.
Yeah.
The more we combine events, the more we spread them out so they're not a couple of weeks apart. Just if we collaborate on these things, get everybody again rolling in the same direction, it's just better for everybody.
Well, I've got my own little secret thing I've been trying to pull off for a while, and it's my goal is to make a true Southern Monument Builders Convention. So at some point in time, we're going to take over the Tennessee, Kentucky folks. We'll get over to y'all in the Carolinas before too long, but y'all, there's some distance I got to cover. I've got to get through Alabama and Georgia, and
we currently combine with Tennessee, Kentucky. So you get them, you get us too.
There you go. See, then the South will rise again.
They'll see us as liberators,
It's been probably 8 to 10 years ago, but Chris Kubas and I talked about just that exact thing, and this was before they opened the convention center in Athens, and that's kind of the natural place.
That would be a cool one. I would love. I mean, that would actually be a really cool if we did a large joint association meeting, Southern Tennessee, Kentucky, and Carolinas. Right there in Athens, field trip down into Elberton. Man, that would be really cool.
And see, there used to be a Florida event that's kind of fallen by the wayside the last few years. So I mean that again, for them to get jump started? Because some of these regionals that have kind of sloughed off, I know there's efforts to restart them. That something like that can just kick off that effort.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, especially, it would be so easy to, at that point in time, drive out there and I know it's a long drive. For me, it's 14 hours to get to Elberton, but I could justify it so much easier because I'm going to drive out there, stay, do the convention, and I'm going to drive back with material and make that load make sense, right? You can justify so much more out of that at some point in time. And then you get to be hands-on, see your vendors directly face to face. I think it makes your Elberton folks real happy about that kind of thing. I'd love to do something like that. So
yeah, I've always been jealous of the people in South Carolina. So Elberton's probably about 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
Those people in South Carolina, 2 hours to Elberton. Go pick up, whatever I need to go pick up. They essentially treat it almost like Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, think of how many people that are active members, and then, of course, for those that are not members, that have never even been to a quarry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is very beneficial to go out and see where your product is coming from. And I know it's just one step in the process, but it gives you a much deeper understanding of this entire process.
Well, it gives you a great way to explain that stuff to your customers, right? Because when you can fully understand where it comes from, what they have to, the process to go through. Oh, why is that marker so much? Why is that granite so much? Well, it's not so easy. I've had people go, I don't understand why American black is so much more expensive than these others. And I'm like, well, look, I get it. It's a very nice stone, but it's not priced because it's a nice looking stone. The cost to pull it from the quarry is one thing, but it's when they pull that block out and they start slicing it up, they're having to remove things that are imperfections in that stone or cracks and things. So they start culling that stone. And when they look at the yield that they get on those blocks, Georgia gray, they may see, and I don't know, I'm just making numbers up, so don't quote me on this. They may see like an 85% yield on a block out there, right? Or you think it is? I know that the yield, and I don't know. I don't know what the actual number is, but I know that American black, the yield is like at 50% or something like that.
Even like with Georgia gray, whenever they run into the imperfections, say they run into some knots somewhere, those turn into foundations.
Well, they come and they do crusher run as well. So that's how you get your crush rock for the inside. So, I mean, they utilize a lot of that stuff, but not necessarily, when you're talking, blue pearl, there's one quarry in the world for blue pearl in Norway. Like it doesn't exist anywhere else. Why is it so expensive? Because that guy who owns that quarry knows what he has.
Yeah.
So once you can really break down and understand those things, you get it. But you don't, if you're just on an island by yourself, you don't really know those things. And it's not knocking the people that are on it. And I don't intend for it to be that way, but it's, those educational things become gold. I've had people come in before, and because of the education going to hard rocks and what I learned with chisels and things like that, I had a guy come in one day and, what's the difference between you and the guy down the road? And he was being a jerk. And I like the guys down the road. They're good folks. But I wasn't doing this to belittle the people down the road. I walked out and handed them a chisel. I said, take it over to them and see what it is. See what they call it.
See if they call it.
Yeah. So what I handed them was a stun driver. And so I told them, I said, take it over to them. I said, there's two names for that chisel. It's called, if you're in the South, it's called a stun driver. If you're in the North, they call it a rondelle. I said, but not only can I tell you what it's called, I can show you what it does. I know how to use it. So it's those kind of things, those educational things that really push you to be better at the sales of what you do and a better designer and a better craftsman. It hands down, it also opens up the door to be able to understand what is possible in a pinch when you got to be able to fix something quick. So, but no, I think that pretty well sums it up pretty well. I think there's, a lot of benefit there, and I think people just need to give it a shot.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, after this one's published, MBNA get ready for the influx of new memberships.
All two of them.
We have changed hearts and minds here.
From your mouth to God's ears. Again. there is, the higher the membership goes, the more we're able to offer. I mean, it's really is as simple as that. I mean, there's a certain amount of necessary membership just to cover expenses. After that, all of a sudden you get into being able to do more and more, whether it's advocacy, whether it's producing, publication materials, we're talking now, it used to be, so a big, new, in our next marketing meeting, we're going to talk about, it used to be that MBNA produced a public relations guide where it was a list of things of how to publicize your company. And, they had templates for radio ads and templates for billboards and print ads, and basically what's the 2025 equivalent of that, whether it's things to post on social media, commercials that you can stick on Pluto TV, or whatever it is, that will be the next thing we hope to start producing. And the more membership we have, the more funds we have to produce those materials.
That'd be great.
So that'll be good stuff. So all right, what else everybody got going on? Y'all done installing stuff for Christmas?
No. Are you serious? Is it Christmas Eve yet?
We close up next Friday. I've always closed up for 2 weeks around the Christmas time, and it's so we can continue that on. So we have till next Friday. Luckily, I think we're down to, we got a couple done today. I think we're down to like 6 left to get out. Some of them are still in Sandblast. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully we make it. But we've got rain coming tomorrow, rain coming Monday, and I think rain coming next Thursday. So it ought to be fun.
The one of the guys that installs with me, he asked me the other day, "We working on Christmas Eve?" And I guess we'll see how fast we put stuff out, won't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the same boat too. I've got stencil cut for a few things that we got to get them sandblasted because we got to get them out.
Well, today was an interesting one on ours because we were getting ready to go install like 2 or 3 of them at College Station City Cemetery. They just recently had a turnover of sexton, and it was a rapid change that was sudden. So the new sexton has been there a while, but he's juggling a lot of balls, right? Not just the cemetery, but he's involved in Parks Department and all kinds of stuff. So I called him today and said, "Hey, is this marked?" He goes, "Man, I'm not able to get it marked. I'm so busy going today. I've got a big list of stuff." And he said, "And by the way, I'm not going to be in next week." Like, oh, that's not good. So I convinced him he actually instead of having a lunch, he went and marked them for me, and did it during his lunch break. So I took him a bottle of wine and said, "Hey man, I greatly appreciate you taking care of that for us and getting that knocked out, because it means it. Well, it makes my job easier. That's fine, but it means so much more to the families more than anything. So we'll be able to get those things taken care of for him or for the families, because he went above and beyond. So kudos to that guy. But man, it was a scare for a moment. We were a little bit worried. So we'll get those done, and I think that's the bulk of my stuff has to go out there. I think there was 4 or something like that out there, that one cemetery.
There you go. And of course, whenever you do come back from your Christmas break, there's always you walk in just kind of winced up, just ready for the hit between the emails, the phone messages that are going to be left.
What is the acronym that the Marines use? BOHICA? Bend over, here it comes again.
Yep.
So that'll be good. But we appreciate you, Brad, coming on and dealing with our stuff and talking about this. But
I appreciate the invite. If you don't mind, quick plug for Cleveland. It's March 13th through 16th. The response to it has quite frankly been overwhelming. The
Good.
exhibit hall sold out within a couple of weeks. We expanded it. All those spots sold out. Registration, I was sent a text last week. Registration to this point in the calendar, I think, was quadruple what it was for Memphis.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's really appreciate the response everybody's been giving it.
Good.
So
Well, and as is with all the associations and whatnot, I think think of it kind of like the Masonic Lodge. To be one, ask one. Ask somebody who's a member. Ask somebody who's a member of any of them to what they get. I know that I know just about everybody on the board for MBNA, and I think I can safely say that if you're really curious and got questions, you can reach out to just about any one of them, and probably any one of them, and ask questions about the value and what's there. And actually, if you really want one, pick Matt because he didn't have anything else going on. He didn't have anything else going on at all. So call him.
No, I definitely say if you're one of those that you're on the fence about whether or not you want to join or you have had a bad experience, like seriously, reach out to reach out to somebody on the board with MBNA or just reach out to any member. Feel free to reach out to Tony or I. We'd be more than happy to sit around and talk with you. And even if you do have a negative viewpoint of it and you just want to tell us why you have a negative viewpoint of it, just entertain us with the conversation.
Yeah. I'm happy to listen and talk and yeah.
Well, especially if you do have a negative viewpoint of it and it's something that it's a barrier that prevents you from joining any of these organizations. If it's a legitimate claim, by all means, it needs to be elevated up to the levels to where it needs to be heard.
Without
a doubt.
Yeah. So, but we appreciate you, and I think we'll wrap it up on that one and move on to the next one. I don't think the next one will be till next year because I ain't gonna talk to you till then.
No, this is going to be Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Pretty much. I'm gonna go after next Friday. I'm sitting on my couch and I ain't getting up. So I don't know. I tried to convince my wife to let me go to Vegas for the Vegas Bowl, but I don't know if we're going to pull that one off. So we'll see. But all right, on that one, we'll check out and we'll talk to you all on the next one.
Sounds good. Have a good one.